welcome everyone to another episode of the Project Management Intelligence live sessions that we obviously aim to have on a monthly basis. So welcome everyone. We're really happy that we have you here today with us and that you were able to tune in into this session today. So for the people who don't know me, I mean, it's written here obviously, but my name is Markus Glovers. I'm here with my co-host, Nicolas Rohrbach. And we are co-founders of Fortion, which is, we're actually obviously as a sponsor for this event. And just, for people who have not joined the sessions before, we have established this kind of community, right? And those monthly meetup sessions to trigger more awareness of more innovative project management methods. And that, of course, includes also data analytics and artificial intelligence. And that's obviously also one topic, as you can determine by the title. This is something that we are going to talk about today. But first of all, talking about this community as such, right? I would like to highlight that we run several sites where you can actually get some updates for these kind of sessions and any updates for future sessions as well. So, most of you probably are familiar with the Meetup page. Probably most of you actually registering through the Meetup page. Some are actually coming through the Zing page. But there's also a LinkedIn page that we would like you to consider to actually access, because there we are also sharing some updates here and there, not only about those sessions, but generally speaking, also some updates when it comes to innovative project management methods and anything that pops in, obviously, for future discussions. Another thing is that I would like to highlight or start with, basically. Most of you know that we have quite some international audience here usually, and maybe you can even start with this to even check how that actually looks for you in terms of where you're coming from, right? So for that purpose, it would be good if you can access actually menti.com and using that code here that's listed here, 1678 3802, and tell us where you're from. And then, so for us actually to get a glimpse on where everybody's dialing in from today. I will just give it a moment. So please, most of you know that we use Menti or Mentimeter to actually ask some questions. So if you're on there, on that page, then please stay on there, because we will have some additional questions thereafter. Okay, that's kind of as expected. We are based actually here in Switzerland, but we know, as I said before, we have several people actually from the audience usually that are dialing in from several other locations as well. So it looks like we have, again, some more international audience, which is good. Okay, good enough, I think. Thank you very much for giving that much of detail here in terms of where you're from. But we want to obviously get right now to our session, also our guest. And today's session, as you know, is from the title, it's about demystifying artificial intelligence for project management and separating the facts from fiction. And we will introduce in a moment our guest, who has actually a wealth of knowledge and experience and will help us to get through the concepts of artificial intelligence, especially when it comes to project management practice. But before we do that, just a little bit of housekeeping here. and how we want to run this live session today, and as we usually do it. So in terms of any questions that you may have, and we want to obviously also have some sort of engagement from your end as well. So this is via YouTube. You have on the right-hand side, you have a chat window, which we ask you to use once you have a question that pops up to you. So please put those questions into the chat in YouTube then, and we will try to answer those, alias our guest as well, to answer those during the session. And maybe we have also some room for Q&A towards the end of the session. So as I said before, we will also use Mentimeter for questions and surveys. So please stay on menti.com if you are or navigated there already. Another thing, this session is a live stream, and you will have, it will be a recording, so there will be a recording available on YouTube via that same link actually that you accessed to YouTube. So you will have that session or the recording available thereafter as well. But yeah, now enough of the boring talk, I think, and let the important people in here. And we are very happy and honored to have Rich Weller as our guest in today's meetup session. Welcome, Rich.
Well, thank you very much, Marcus and Nicholas. Thank you for allowing me a platform here to share my message and share my learnings and experience on this topic.
Sure. So let me just introduce yourself, and maybe you can add on to this. I'm sure I'm missing a few elements from your wealth of knowledge and your career. You are a project management consultant with MIGSO PCUBED. You have nearly 30 years of experience. You are transforming organizations through improved technology and processes. You have a master's degree, so an MBA, and you hold many certifications, also ranging from Six Sigma, Microsoft Project, as a PMP, multiple Agile certifications, Scrum Master. So you are also a PMI authorized training instructor. And his current passion is artificial intelligence. So you are here at the right address here to talk about this then.
Yes, sir.
Especially for project management. And he's also the owner and one of the thought leaders within the LinkedIn group AI and Project Management. And we can put that link thereafter also into the chat if anybody is interested to join, right? So welcome again, Rich. And maybe you can tell us a little bit more about yourself, anything that I've probably missed in my introduction.
No, but I would like to say I'm glad you started off with my experience, because if you start reading down through all those certs that I have, you might get the impression, oh, here's another one of those theoretical guys, one of the academics. But no, not really, guys. I've been doing this stuff in the project management space for nearly 30 years. These are the things that I've accumulated over the time, and I've used the information and knowledge that I've gained from the certifications and education to apply in project management on the engagements that I've worked with for the companies and organizations that I work for. So I'm not just a academic. I actually apply this stuff for real in the real world, and that as we move forward in this presentation, that is one of the things that I wanted to do with respect to this artificial intelligence. When I first started out, was to, just like this title says, you guys picked the right title, is to demystify it and move it away from this fluffiness that gets talked about out there and give us something more tangible and that we can wrap our heads around. And so hopefully you'll see that come to life as we move forward today.
Perfect. Thank you. So to get actually started, and today's topic is obviously to get some more clarity around artificial intelligence in the context of project management. So we would actually like to start with another Mentimeter question, so a brief question to the audience to get started. And that is actually, let me just switch on here. Yeah. When thinking about AI, what comes to everyone's mind, right? And this is really just like throwing some words. Whatever pops up into your mind, feel free to just put that in there right now on menti.com. Hopefully you're still on there. If not, You see at the bottom of that screen here the address and the code again. And yeah, let's give it a minute again. Just when you think AI, regardless of project management, maybe even just throw something in and let's see where we're getting to. Okay, automation, learning, data. Yeah, this Terminator, that's an interesting one, yeah. Anything that pops up for you there, Rich?
Well, to be quite honest, I submitted the term Terminator. You asked
Ah,
what came to my mind first, and
okay,
being a little bit humorous, but not, because that's the real world, right? In many cases, when people think about the term artificial intelligence, that's the first thing that pops to mind is the movies.
right. Yeah, I mean, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about this. I mean, how, from your point of view, right? How do you define actually artificial intelligence in a general sense?
Yeah, well, artificial intelligence, that's a sexy phrase. It sells, and like mentioned, that's what the movies are made of, or what we make movies about. But to be quite honest, in my mind, artificial intelligence is more of an umbrella term, very similar to the term agile. And I know there's probably many folks on this call related to project management understand agile. Maybe even many of them hold certifications in various aspects. But the term agile, it's an umbrella term, and I hear people say all the time, we would like to implement agile, and I say, well, what do you mean by that? Are you
Mm,
talking about implementing daily stand-ups, or implementing the Scrum methodology or Scrum approach, or are you looking to implement the scaled agile framework, or maybe just Kanban? Well, artificial intelligence, and again, in my mind, it's the same way, an umbrella term, and there are a number of items that could and do fall underneath there, as I see it, all the way from if you think about the purists with respect to artificial intelligence would tell us that it encompasses like machine learning and deep learning and those algorithms that are required, but in general, generally speaking, we're seeing a lot of uh, uh, companies brand their products um, as AI, and it's a little bit broader, and being a little bit broader than just those AI algorithms. We're seeing additional items that would fall underneath that umbrella term of artificial intelligence. But in my mind, generally speaking, artificial intelligence is all about leveraging the power of technology to help us improve our processes and our decision making.
And I guess, I mean, Rich, I mean, how did you actually get into the whole space of AI and project management?
Great question, and I'm glad you started me here, or glad you asked this one. And here's the answer. You're going to think this is funny, but it's true. So here's how I got started down this path. So my background. You heard already. 30 years in the project management profession, and so I consider myself a student of project management. But this guy right here, this smartphone, is exactly what triggered the quest, or this journey that I'm on. And so the moral of the story is I know where I live. I absolutely know where I live. Right over, it's over there. But this thing right here knows a better way to my house than I do. And you all can agree, because you're in the same boat. Like, you go into Google Maps, it'll find you the most efficient route to your house, even though you know where you live. And that's what started the crusade. That's where I started from. And so I went from there. I'm like, hey, if this thing can help me here, what else can it do? And how can it help me, or us, I should say, in the space of project management. So from there, I went on and I developed, and I'm not a coder. I'm not a coder. I'm not a developer. But I went on from there with that concept in mind and began kind of dabbling with some of the what we call the low code, no code tools, and developed a few applications, if you will, or solutions. For instance, being able to integrate Microsoft Project with Microsoft Planner, or to be able to interact with your Google Assistant to help quiz you for the PMP exam. These are just different little widgets that I built, but it goes on from there because again, if I can do these things, what if we got somebody that's smarter than me in this stuff to help move us in that direction? Um, and and then I went on from there. So as soon as I saw this, that because that's the future. And this started, guys, not just last week or last month. This started over 2 years ago. Like that's when I started. That's when the realization hit. And so I've been on this quest ever since of like, hey, we need to shift. We need a paradigm shift in the project management profession. We need to do things totally differently. We need to move away from chasing the latest, greatest certification on the process. And no disrespect to, PMI or Scaled Agile. Those processes, standardized processes, have definitely helped our and approaches have definitely helped our profession. But we need a paradigm shift. We need to leap, and I believe that leap is through technology. We need to digitally disrupt our own profession. And so from there, with that fire inside of me, I went away and launched or started that LinkedIn group. As you mentioned already, Marcus, it's AIandProjectManagement.com. It's a LinkedIn group, and there's actually a number of like-minded people in there, and there's actually some pretty influential players in there. Marcus, I believe you're in there. And alongside of you as being a thought leader in there, there's Mr. Sunil Prashara, who,
Yeah.
if you don't know that name, is the president and CEO of PMI. There's also Mr. Peter Taylor, who is our known for our lazy project manager. And in addition to that, there's Mr. Paul Boudreau, who I believe is up next on your agenda. And way to go, Paul. Paul and I have actually, I would say we're friends and have communicated and collaborated and worked together prior to this. So, and I look forward to joining his call. And so that that kind of
We have a comment here from Stan Green that maybe links up. If you
sure,
see that about low code, no code is a growing area.
yeah.
I think that links to what you're saying, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And to be quite honest, Stan, thank you for joining. And I'd love to be presenting right alongside of you, Stan. I look to you as another thought leader in technology as well as applying that in the project management profession. And that's, as I mentioned earlier, I've leveraged some of these low code, no code tools because I'm not a developer to do things that 2 years ago I would have never been able to do. I would have had to go speak with somebody from the IT department to say, can you create this for me? And then to move on in my current role in the organization that I work for, MIGSO PCUBED. One of my pillars of responsibility is innovation, and we are constantly looking how can we up the game internally, and how can we help the customers or the clients that we work for improve in the space of project program, PM, and portfolio management. And we taking this knowledge that we've learned and sharing it with others. And we actually partner with a couple other organizations. One name I'll toss out, and this one's for Mr. Stan Green. He asked me through, I think it was through our. This is not staged, guys. I promise you. This is unraveling for real. He posted in that AI and project management group the other day the question around leveraging technology with respect to taking meeting minutes. And we actually partner with an organization called Powwow AI, and that's exactly what their product does, but it's way bigger than that. It'll take your meeting minutes, and through AI algorithms, it'll look at the words and pull out action items, pull out issues, and bucket those accordingly. And then, in addition to that, if you think about the big picture, it's capturing or transferring all of our audio, all of our words into data. Think about it. Data is king in today's world. Data rules. And think about if you're capturing, the your meetings and all the meetings on that's occurring in your organization, and you're storing that in a data lake. Now we're talking like that's the future. You're going to be able to harness that and leveraging true AI algorithms. You're going to be able to query that data, and maybe you're able to ask questions like, well, what project should we kill? And we won't be able to look at all of that textual data and be able to make that decision, but the AI algorithms that we write can. Or maybe what project should we be starting that we aren't even aware of? Let's write that algorithm. So um,
That's actually,
I think that's probably a little long-winded on that one, but you guys, you've hit me in my sweet spot. This is passionate. I am passionate about this.
we actually on I think in January we actually have Bruce Gay, and he's actually going to talk about this whole minute meeting topic, basically, right? So basically going right down that alley. But just kind of coming back to it, right? I mean, there's a lot of buzzwords out there. When people say, artificial intelligence, people start going, AI, machine learning, when they start, throwing in RPA, robotics, basically. And you get this whole kind of this, no code, low code stuff going on. But I mean, if just taking a step back, right? I mean, all these different things. I mean, where do you see the benefit? Like, if you translate this to project management, we were talking about, you were saying about, capturing the words, being able to make the decision. But I mean, translating that a little bit further, a little bit more tangible into something, for example, like into like risk management or schedule management or something like this. I mean, what kind of benefits do you see coming out?
Okay, so great question. I'll start at the highest level, right? At the highest level, the value is to improve this, to leverage technology to either improve decision making or improve our processes. That's at the high level. And now, if you break that down, you take your pick. Again, imagine let's talk about Mr. Paul Boudreau. He's a perfect example. I'm sure he's going to talk to you about the algorithms that he's written, which looks at all of the projects in the past, and you submit some criteria based upon your potential project that you're about ready to start, and the algorithms will run and compare and say, hey, based upon what the information that you've given me on this project thus far, your probability of success is this. That's huge value. If the probability is not high enough, we should not start this project, because we're doomed to fail. And we can't see that. We can't make that decisions other than maybe someone instinctually, but the technology can help us there. Risk management, that's an easy one, right? We know we capture all of our information on risks from the past. We build that data lake or that source of information. We create our new risks, and the with the algorithms, it'll be able to perform like that impact assessment for us straight away, and help us make those decisions before they actually happen. The other other concepts that come to mind is if we move away from and now what I've talked about has been leveraging the AI algorithms. But if we think about the improving our processes, and we move back on what my complexity model from the far right back to the left, and we start talking about RPA, you drop the acronym RPA, and I again demystifying things here for those folks on this call. If you don't know what that acronym stands, it stands for Robotic Process Automation, and this again is touching on some of those low code, no code technology to help us improve our processes. And if you're thinking about that, how can that bring value to us? Man, there's a ton of room and a ton of space or opportunity. There's a ton of opportunity in this space, and I'll give you a perfect example, a real world example, internal to our own organization. I'll share our dirty laundry. So we used to have a training request process, which was based upon emails and a Word document, multiple emails and a Word document, and we leverage, and it took probably I don't know total of maybe three hours of effort to cycle that training request through the process through low code no code solution, and the one we leveraged here was Power Automate. We were able to take that process, streamline it, and now to request training and to get that approved takes about maybe 5 or 10 minutes. So there's just another example, real world, tangible values provided back to our organization, and so I mean we could go on and on. This I would love to have a community and do this more collaboratively, and let's start sharing ideas and capturing it because I'm just one guy.
Right. So I actually have a question. You dropped Paul Boudreau's name, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, do you think it's going to be possible to have a machine as a project manager? Do you think in
No,
one day we're actually going to?
you're no, you're not asking the question correctly, or maybe my answer is absolutely no. To answer your question directly, absolutely no. But can we have artificial intelligence assist the project manager? Absolutely, yes. Some of the guys that are more on the experienced on the AI side, my friends at Powwow AI, they talk about the concept of the human in the loop, and I'm like, yeah, that's what it's all about, and that's what it'll be. You'll the tools are there to assist us. They're going to be able to do things, on the automated side much faster than we can. On the data, decision making, be able to make decisions that our brains never could make. Um, but the project manager is always going to be there, and here's the beauty, like guys. I don't. For those that are watching this, that's in the project management profession, you got to get on board because this is coming. 2 years ago I was saying it's not coming. 2 years ago I was saying it's coming. What I'm telling you is it is here today. Like we can do these things today, either on the automation or on the decision making, and the great thing about it is here's the benefit to my project management peers. What this automation and this technology is going to allow you to do is going to give you more time to focus on the people side, right? Project management, people, process, technology. If the technology takes over some of that stuff and does some of the things that we've been doing, typing, this training request, I was part of that. I'm like, no, we got to automate that. So I don't have to do that anymore. And now I can go work with the people and let the technology do those things that it can do, and do it faster with less errors. And again, it makes time, clears out time, creates more time for me to work with the people side.
Maybe when talking about the benefits, right? Maybe we can also have that question to the audience, right? So you highlighted already a few items, right? But maybe the audience have also a view on what actually would provide the most benefit or the highest benefit, basically, from AI in project management, or where would we rather get lower benefit, right? Obviously, there are a mix of things, right? So to the audience, if you could navigate again to menti.com, or switch back to your previous screen on menti.com, and make a vote. So I mean, you mentioned already, Rich, right? There's automation, right? But then there's obviously also the risk management part, and we also have, which I think, when we just talk about like other thought leaders and names, right? There's Oxford University, right, with Ben Fleefberg. They do a lot of work basically on the project planning part, right, and the forecasting part, right, and so they have that model there that they're using. So there are obviously various areas, right? So we see. Okay, let's give it a minute.
Well, I think actually that the feedback is kind of interesting, right? I guess, I mean, I think the planning and the estimates, I mean, that's obviously something where you have a whole bunch of human bias always involved, right? But I think the other one is kind of, and it's not necessarily, um, the optimization, but the when there's a risk and mitigation that's decided, there's associated actions to that, right? And that's going to basically end up, kind of feeding back into the entire plant, right? And I think, here there's, if you just look at it from like if you want to call it an automation perspective, I think there's a lot that can be done, and that's probably, Rich, where you're bringing up the topic about these meeting minute automation tools, right? Like, because at the end of the day, right, it's a matter of capturing those decisions, right? And the reality is that a lot of these conversations are actually happening in meetings or on chats or something like that, right? So it's going to be valuable, right?
When you look at actually at this here, Rich, now what is your view on this when you would look at these elements here in terms of how you would weight them in terms of benefit?
Just using this criteria here in these areas, you've already heard me say, improve decision making, and that's not just okay. It's not just faster decision making; it's improved decision making.
Right.
Right, so it's not just the speed of it, but it's also the quality of it. So that's number one to me. I see the automation, and I would strike the term repetitive. I would just say automation, automating different things. Maybe not just repetitive tasks, but automating whatever we can. We should be. Why not? Um,
Right.
Resource optimization. We already have and so here's the thing, guys. We already have tools that does resource optimization. We've had Microsoft Project for years, and if you go to managing multiple projects, you just talk about Microsoft Project Online or Project Server. Now you put all your project schedules in there, and it can look across all of your project schedules out into the future and show you over allocations before they actually happen. It even has a resource optimization module inside of Project Online that's been there for years. But again, this is why you got to think about, like, to me, AI is kind of like that umbrella term where it's not just one thing, it's multiple things.
And I mean,
I mean,
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to ask Rich, because you're kind of bringing up this topic of the umbrella, right? I mean, in your opinion, what are the biggest misconceptions of AI?
I'm sorry, Nicholas. What are the biggest what?
The misconceptions.
Oh, the misconceptions. Yeah. So again, it starts from the movies, right? People seem to think like, it just works. Things just happen. It's kind of magic. But to be quite honest, it's not. And if I could share my screen for just a second, I would like to reference something that's within that AI in project management LinkedIn group. I can't take credit for this, but I'll show you. if I can, someone placed placed a post there just a couple days ago, and I thought it was very interesting. So if there's any way that I could share my screen,
Sure.
I'll I'll
Share.
show
Go
I'll,
ahead.
sh- I'll, sh- I'll show this to you and share this with you. I mentioned already I'm a student of project management eternally, and I'm not the expert. And in that group, there are thought leaders, and this was a post that got dropped just a couple of days ago, and I thought it was very interesting. And since you asked that question, I think it provides a good answer to that question.
Yeah, go ahead, sharing screen, and let's just switch over.
Yep, I'm ready whenever you are, Marcus.
All right. There we are.
Okay, can you see it okay? So again, this is that AIN project management LinkedIn group. And this article here, or this post here got dropped just a couple days ago. And I don't want to steal Moss Williams' good work. And that's why I wanted to just share my screen and have Amal answer that question for all of us, because here's the misconception that companies think that it's you just take the data and you use AI to get value out of it. Well, data is just the start, and it's got to be, there's multiple steps in here, and it's not just AI. There's a lot of things that have to happen and occur inside of here before you can get those, make those decisions, before you can leverage the technology to help you make those decisions or to help you get value from the solution. This is a big misconception in today's world.
I mean, talking about this, right? You mentioned, right, what needs to be in place, right? I mean, what do you think? I mean, other than technology or data, etc., right? What do you think needs to be actually in place, uh, generally speaking, right? Kind of a prerequisite for artificial intelligence really making sense or being useful for the project management practice.
Yeah, again, a great question here. Um, I'm going to start off with going back to my experience and things that we see, or something that we see in the agile front, and some of our experts say that agile is a mindset. Agile is a mindset, and when I first started studying, agile back in, or working with it back in 2012, I just didn't quite get that concept. What do you mean agile is a mindset? And but it took me a while to figure that out, and what that means is you got to change the way you think. Like, first off, you got to understand a little bit about the various agile principles, processes, tools, and techniques, but then you got to change the way you think. You can't keep going back and doing things that, the old way. You got to leverage the new way of doing things, the faster way of doing things, the more efficient way of doing things. And that's where I'm going to start with respect to, um, AI and and technology. It's like this: you have to think digital. That's why I do my subliminal messages here. You have to think digital, and this is a message to myself every day as well. Like, as I get challenged with as I get handed a new challenge or a new opportunity, I always start off, quite often we want to go do what we know, right? But maybe rather than typing an email and sending an email out to 422 people and getting their answers back and manually compiling them, maybe I leverage Microsoft Forms that you send a survey out. And all the results come back, and I'm telling you, if you haven't noticed it yet, if you've never leveraged Microsoft Forms, they actually have some AI type algorithms in there. And I was shocked the day I was reviewing some results from a survey, and the tool said, "Hey, there's a correlation between these two answers." Now, I don't know if I would have caught it, had that message not been there. But within even Microsoft Forms, there's some AI type algorithms that's built in there that's providing us information, that we maybe didn't have just a couple years ago. So again, think digital, automate your processes as much as you can, leverage existing technology. Um, and then also, I'll give you one other here, is to do a little research with respect to the new Citizen Developer Program that's been started by the Project Management Institute. Do a little research on that topic. That will be very inspiring, especially when we're talking about attempting to scale some of these like low code, no code solutions, scale them up from small up into enterprise usage. There's some good information coming in there in that citizen developer program that's offered by PMI.
Great. Just another question, because I was just thinking about this, right? When I mean, we're talking about some challenges, right? But where you see like potential for improvement, actually, generally speaking, when it comes to project management and AI, we obviously reached a certain state, but where do you see some improvement as well as challenges other than what was mentioned already?
Yeah, okay. Let's see. Let me start off with the challenges.
Yeah.
I think we need to break that perception. We need to break that perception of what the movies have created. We need to break this perception that it's just magic, and if we just ask the question, the answers will magically appear. No, there's a lot of hard work that comes into um, getting the value from the AI solution. So that's number one. We need to break that misconception. That's a challenge. And then um, there's also one other thing, and if you don't mind, I'd like to share or show my screen again, just
Sure.
one more time. There's one more thing I'd like to share with your audience here. This is based upon a good bit of work that I have done in the past, and our organization has pulled together. So I'm ready to share, Marcus, whenever you are.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you here is, hey, I'm not making this stuff up. I mean, it's you can see here. Here's some research pulled together by the Eckerson Group, and they're talking about the evolution of AI, and they kind of got a scale here. Moving from rules to statistics to that machine learning to deep learning, where your artificial intelligence is here. And what we've developed is what I call a complexity model, if you will. And then you'll notice the similarity here between the Eckerson Group's research and what we've pulled together. And you'll notice that the robotic process automation is on the left, whereas the true AI and artificial intelligence is on the right. And as promised, one of the things for me, just getting started in these topics, all these terms that you see here, um, from they're fluffy, and they're hard for someone that's just trying to get your head or handle on these things. It's hard, but with just the terms or just the definition. So what I did was, or what we did was, went away and pulled together this complexity model, and I just want to share this with you and your folks, because what we've put examples underneath each one of these headings, and with these examples, um, they are examples that our project management peers will know, and can connect the dots. So the first one I'll start here is our enterprise project management solutions. Project Online I referenced already. You can do that resource forecasting in Project Online, but there's Planisware, Jira, CA Agile, PlanView. I'll start here. This is the first piece that I'll lay into this complexity model. But then I go clear back to the left side. And when I say it's a complexity model, the things that are on this are become more complex, more expensive, harder to do as you move left to right. But let me just quickly run through this so your audience will perhaps get value from this. So we move back now to the robotic process automation, and underneath there, if you think about what robotic process automation, it's really just leveraging the technology to improve your process. And I start off with formulas, and you're like, ah, come on, but no. But think about it. You can write, if you when you first learned how to write formulas in Excel, you're like, whoa, wow, this is pretty cool. This can speed up my process. I don't have to use the calculator or pencil and paper anymore. So I start there. That's a frame of reference. You use technology to improve the process. And I move on. Pivot tables. If you haven't learned how to use pivot tables, it'll change your world. And then we go into workflows. And then there's a number of products here that are that are really starting off kind of pretty simple to use. This is also falling in that low code no code solution. IFTTT, if you're not familiar with that, is great for personal use. And then there's that Power Automate in there. Moving over to the right, digital assistants. Think about it. Think about what all you ask Alexa or Google Assistant to do for you. Our house totally runs off Google Assistant. I mean, like opening the garage door, turning on the TV, and all of that. Bots, you know, bots could be created using Google Actions, or even Microsoft Teams has some out of the box kind of bots that you just turn on. And then you got things like data wrangling. There's another term. And then you got like Visual Basic or Access or Alteryx falls in there. Then you've got what I call Enterprise RPA. There's a number of organizations that fall into this category. I got to give a shout out to another organization that we work with called TrackVia. It's one of our guys there. Appreciate those guys. Now we come to the Enterprise Project Management Solutions. Then we have dashboards in here. Dashboards, there's the products that we can use to create dashboards. Machine learning, there's examples of various machine learning technology. And then finally, true artificial intelligence, in my mind, is those complex algorithms that are written. And I'll toss in my good buddies at Powwow AI because they're doing some amazing stuff there. So this is um, what I call our complexity model. Is various options that you could leverage to improve your processes or improve your decision making.
No, that's perfect. I mean, that's great insight. I mean, and we were talking about challenges. Let me just switch back here. And constraints, right? And you mentioned also, or we're addressing this, and we were mentioning before,
Yeah.
also
Yeah. So back to
yeah,
the challenges. So
yeah,
and now I'll connect the dots as to why I brought up that complexity model. And the challenge is that people tend to think that AI is only the things on the right, and AI is, I don't know how to do anything there. But if you think of AI as more of an umbrella term, and if you look at those items that are over on the left, I'm telling you, if I can create some of these little widgets or solutions that I've built, I'm confident that you can too.
and this might link to some constraints actually in organizations where they kind of shy away from because they have kind of a misconception, right? And actually miss to simplify certain things, right? And
That's right.
that maybe, I mean, that's maybe again another question here, as you can see, to the audience, where you would see the constraints, right, in your organization to introduce AI to project management. And one thing is here, limited knowledge and understanding of AI, which might be exactly this kind of thing where people think like AI is this kind of this misconcepted thing,
That's right.
and they don't even do a deep dive there to really understand that actually it's not that a monster that they may think of, right?
Yeah, and then yes, absolutely. And the second half of your question was around improvement. Again, I'll go back to the comment I made earlier. We need to stop chasing. We need to stop chasing the latest greatest certification. We need a paradigm shift. We need to look to technology to really um, disrupt, change our profession. We should be delivering projects at a success rate of 90% or greater. And you're going to hear Mr. Boudreau. And by the way, we I didn't stumble into him until a year or so into my learnings. And when I saw some of his posts and started reading some of his stuff, I'm like, oh my goodness, Paul, we're saying the same thing. We need to come together and join together and go change the world, the project management profession, because we, as a project management profession, could and should be delivering that value back to our businesses at the success rate of 90% or more. And that's what that's what he'll preach about.
Just maybe a quick one, because we have here also as constraint like data privacy or ethical concerns. Would you see that also as kind of a roadblock?
Yeah, absolutely. There are concerns there, and rightfully so. And again, I am not an expert in this space. I am a student, but I will point you again to the Citizen Developer Program by PMI. They incorporate these concepts and suggestions and approach on how to handle those things, especially as we're starting out. Maybe as an individual and attempting to scale the solution up to across the enterprise. I'm not an expert on you know um, the security and things like that, but I will
Right,
point you to PMI and the Citizen Developer Program for those details.
right. Um, but I mean, you mentioned this kind of uh, path, basically, or that kind of a roadmap, right? Which is even to take some simple steps to start with, right? But when you think, I mean, how does an organization actually know when they're actually ready to adopt AI in project management? Because now many people are shying away, right? And they think like they think that we're not ready for this because we need this and this and that, right? But how would someone know, or an organization would know they are actually ready to take that route?
Well, I'm going to say right now, you're ready. I mean, if we looked at the topic of this presentation, it was about demystifying AI and project management, and if we looked at that complexity model and we say, hey, wait a minute, I realize true AI algorithms sit over here on the right, but there are things that are much simpler and easier to achieve that are on the left. What I'm telling the individuals here, because an organization is made up of individuals, start now. You can start with those things that are on the left side and look for opportunities, and your organization may be at a different point. Maybe you're able to look at that complexity model and say, hey, you know what, we're already doing that, but yeah, we haven't done this yet. We don't know how to do this fluffy AI in project management, or maybe how to write those sophisticated AI algorithms that are over here on the right. But we could actually do this. We could actually look into doing this next step up on that complexity model. And if you think about it, each level that you move your organization up on that, you're becoming more efficient. You're leveraging technology. You're making improved decisions, and making it more improved decisions from that. The farther you move to the right.
Mm.
I mean, Rich, I mean, I find, a lot of things that you've said, I mean, they really resonate with me, right? I mean, if I think, just like kind of the comment about methodologies, I mean, one of my things is always, if agile or these new methodologies that we keep thinking of and these new certifications, if this would be the magic sauce, right? In a sense, I mean, we would see drastic improvements in project success rates, right? And if I kind of rewind, like on Marcus's and my journey as well, right? I mean, we started these conversations a long time ago, and we're actually really, I mean, me personally, I was, surprised that, in project management, we implement AI into business processes all over the place, but we actually never take a step back to actually think about what can it actually do for us, right? I mean, why don't we implement it on project management itself? I mean, the amount of projects that fail or that run over, on cost or on schedule, and it's actually, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the amount of money that's being wasted is just, I mean, for me, it's mind-boggling, right?
Yep. I totally agree.
And it's kind of when you come back to the point, it really comes down to, there are quick wins out there, right? You're talking a little bit about it, and it's a journey, right? I mean, anybody that has an illusion, right, that thinks AI is, I'm gonna, I mean, first of all, you got to understand what actually AI is and what's all underneath the hood. But
Right.
the whole journey that you go on, right? And you see all these companies, all over the place. If it's your mobile phone, whatever it is, I mean, there's small features being introduced over time, and it's a journey that's going on, right? And
And,
I don't think we're not at a point where we got autonomous machines going to be making decisions for us, right?
oh,
In the near future,
no.
we have still a long.
Oh, hold on, Nicholas. Hold on. That I gotta stop you on that statement. Go get in a self-driving car.
You think?
They exist, brother. Is it that machine making decisions for you as it's going down the freeway?
Well,
It
let's
exists
say
today.
I think I've
AI is
unsupervised.
not AI is not coming. AI is here, and that vehicle is not just making a decision, multiple decisions. It's going down the road. And how do I know this? Is because my last project that I worked on was with one of the big three and helping them develop their latest assisted driving software.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Interesting.
back to your point around like quick wins or maybe some advice or guidance as to what to do next. I'll go back to that first one. Think digital, right? The next time you go to create something in Excel, say, wait a minute, can I create a form for this? Is there another way I can do this? Pause yourself for just a moment and think digital. Try to move that way. The second one, the second tip that I'll give you is what we did here within our organization. We set up an AI community of practice. We actually call it a digital worker because of just kind of the branding, but set up a community of practice in your organization and bring like-minded people together, just like we are here today. And our community of practice meets once a month. They're like-minded people that come together. We're leveraging the capabilities of Microsoft Teams for the networking and posting, but we come together once a month, and somebody will demonstrate the latest and greatest solution that they've either stumbled into or developed, or also it's a community for our project management consultants to come to say, hey team, you guys are the experts here on my project. This is what we're doing, and we would like to leverage some type of technology to do it better. How can you help me? So this community of practice is a good place to start within an organization, so that you can start moving people down that journey. And it goes back to change management, right? As we talk about change management, each individual is on that change management journey at different stages. So again, that community of practice. And the last thing I'll say is this: think big, but start small, and that's how you move it forward.
Great. No, I mean, I actually fully agree. But I have one last question. I'm just conscious that we have 2 minutes left, but I have one question that I wanted to ask you just quickly is because there are many vendors out there who offer actually AI solutions, right? And, organizations want to go the AI way, once they're past this mind block. And think, okay, let's take that journey on, right, towards AI. But then there are a lot of vendors and suppliers out there. They claim, okay, we are AI driven or AI supported, whatever you want to call it, right? While they actually are not. I mean, I actually came in touch with some of those suppliers. I mean, the question is how one can actually make the difference, right? When looking at an AI solution, or it's claimed to be an AI solution, how one can actually make a difference between this is really AI and this is some fake solution.
That's a great question, Marcus. And I too, just about 2 weeks ago, I saw an organization claiming AI, leverage AI with our technology, and I kind of participated in a little demo. And I'll be honest, what I saw didn't appear to be true AI algorithms or any kind of machine learning. So I think what you would need to do is, first off, you need to understand those. If we look at all of those different areas that would fall underneath that umbrella, I think you have to question the organization, or look at the product and say, okay, which level, or which stage, or which one of these areas are they claiming is AI, and and then you kind of have to make the decision for yourself. Is that true AI like algorithms, or is that more on some sophisticated formulas, or not sophisticated formulas, but some maybe some just some simple formulas to come up with answers. The one I saw was just some simple matching based upon keywords, and I'm like, wait, we could do that we could do that in Excel. But I mean, if you go back to that definition and think about it being on the
Yeah.
far left side, I guess you could say, okay, based upon that, it would fall under the umbrella.
Yeah, it's probably. I was thinking about the same, right? When you have that mindset and that way of thinking, that simplified things, then you can question that. This I can do that myself, right? Or in another simplistic way, right? Okay.
Right.
Well, I mean, we are on. Yeah, it's already 1 minute over. So I mean, thank you very much, Rich. It was really a pleasure having you here. Also, thanks to Stan Green, an active audience or participant here from the audience, right? Great. And it was really insightful, I think. So thanks again. I hope it was also insightful for the audience. You have mentioned it before. Our next session will be with Paul Boudreau in a month. So everyone in the audience, we hope we can welcome you back again then in December. But for now, thanks again, Rich. It was really great having you here. And for everybody
Thank you, gentlemen.
else,
Thanks.
have a great
Thanks,
week.
guys.
Thank you.